Hey, you're listening to The Fatboy Show on your number one station, RX Radio. And I'm so glad you could join us today, this beautiful Tuesday. It is the 13th of December, 2022. Christmas just 12 days away. Do the math. And I got to say, the Christmas spirit is in high gear. And as if that because he has been infected by these good Christmas vibes, the president has come out to share a very warm message, a positive message with the people of Uganda. Olive, the president said that married couples should remain faithful to one another in order to build strong families. Now, of course, this is not something you often hear the president discuss. Normally on family matters, he kind of leaves it up to you to figure it out. He doesn't comment so much on how to run your family. So it's interesting saying the president take this interesting turn. What do you make of the president's statement?
You see, the president, if there is anything I know about him, is that he is a family-oriented man. Now, faithful to each other is relative, but whatever it means, he likes the spirit of family. You've seen him around with his daughters. I like the way Natasha calls him daddy and Diana and Patience. It is so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, he's just totally beholden to his daughters. He loves his daughters and his grandkids for sure.
Yes.
And even his wife, we do see him express affirmative, messages, positive messages, normally on social media. Of course, in person, they tend to be a bit standoffish around each other.
I think that's what older couples do, especially people within the ages of our parents or the parents that came before them. They are standoffish with each other in public, but they respect each other.
Do you remember the time they went to watch the premiere of The Last King of Scotland and they came out of the theater holding hands?
Oh.
Did you see that? There's love in the air.
Yeah, because we rarely see it. That's why it makes news. But at least in as much as, even if they are standoffish with each other in public, they're not like Melania and former President Trump. Because there, as you can see, it is real forcing.
Yeah, that's true. And those two, that was I miss them actually, now that you bring them up.
You do?
Anyway, so President Museveni continued by saying, acts of promiscuity in marriage is the major cause of breakups and weak families because there is no trust for one another. Couples should remain faithful, respect, and also love one another, said the president.
Like I said earlier, promiscuity, faithfulness are all relative, but let's say it is the African context.
I'm sure it won't be lost on a lot of people that not too long ago, we saw images of purportedly another family,
yes,
linked to the president,
yes,
in which one of the daughters was being wedded,
and his brother Salim Saleh gave the daughter away, gave the daughter's hand in marriage to General Tumukunde's son.
Okay, so I don't know the details of the arrangement. I don't know if the president might be married to that person, like legally, or is it just another one of those African things where you have a second wife?
According to the laws of Uganda, the president is definitely not married to that other person because he is already in a church arrangement with the First Lady Janet Museveni.
Wait a minute.
So if he were to legally marry the other one, then it would be bigamy.
I was under the understanding that traditional marriage is recognized by the laws of Uganda.
It is traditional, and of course polygamy is recognized.
Even polygamy?
Yes. But here is the thing. If you decide to marry a lady traditionally and take on another wife, then don't wed any of the two. When you wed any of the two, then one of the marriages is going to be null and void.
Wait a minute. So you mean in Uganda, I can't have married in church and then do a traditional?
Well, people do it, but if you're to go the legal way, actually the second marriage is null and void because there is a woman that is already married in church, and church marriage is monogamous.
Well, you learn something new every day. I didn't know that. So that being the case, obviously, a lot of people will point out that it's rich coming from you talking about monogamy and promiscuity, and yet it would seem that as far as has been publicly acknowledged, there is another family
yes,
with a lady who is not his recognized wife, meaning that this message might fall on deaf ears.
But in African society, if we are to go away from what the white man brought and what has the court said, in African society, just staying with a man for more than a year or two and having children with that man, then you are his wife and he is your husband.
Okay, but then wouldn't someone say that in response to the president? Should he want to take on other partners, because in Africa, as long as you're either living with someone or raising children with someone, from a cultural standpoint, the person is considered to be a wife.
Yes, from a cultural standpoint, but probably there is a reason why he never attended any of the events when the other lady was getting married. Maybe it is because, yes, culturally, this is my family, this is my wife, but legally, and of course how the international community looks on, maybe to avoid any confusion, he decided to stay away.
Anyway, let's not come down too hard on the president.
Yeah.
He probably means well in saying this. Although I would disagree that promiscuity is the number one cause of breakups. And if it is the case, it is our fault due to the expectation that people go into marriage, the expectation of no promiscuity, let's say, or of pure monogamy. Because back in the day, and I guess in some traditional cultures, when a woman marries a man, she goes in knowing that there's potential for there be a second or a third wife down the road.
Yes.
And so it doesn't come as a surprise. It is not an issue that causes strife in the family.
But back in the
everyone
day,
just gets with the program.
Yeah, it was everyone who used to get with the program, but the times have changed and the economy is different. We never used to deal with a money economy like we are today. And men back in the day, all they had to do is go and hunt and then provide for the kids in whatever way they could back then. But today, a man wants to have 3 wives, but when his finances are actually unable to help him take care of the 3. So if she steps out...
Well, women empowerment means that the wives can now take care of themselves and the kids. No,
women empowerment means that I do decide if you are going to be with someone else, then I decide to stay or to leave. I don't have to stay with you because you're my husband. Because I'm empowered, I can afford to leave you and be okay. That is what women empowerment means.
Are you implying that polygamy is only applicable when the women are economically disempowered?
Yes.
I mean, says who? Isn't it up to a woman? Now, can't a woman who is educated, has money, say to herself, let's say, for example, she's a Muslim, and in her culture and in her religion, these are not alien concepts.
But Islam is different. If you're to talk to Muslim women, they will tell you that even for them, the Quran says a man can have the 4 wives, but he must be in position to take care of them equally. Keyword, equally. And most guys cannot do that. That is why sheikhs like the late Muzata only took 1 wife. But he had money. But he's on record saying, why are you marrying women that you cannot afford to take care of? You make people's daughters suffer.
He said that? A sheikh said that?
Yes, he's on record. You can find the recordings. He had 1 wife. He first married 1, they split and he married another one. He never had 2 wives at the same time.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny.
And he was one of the favorite sheikhs in this country.
I guess aside also from the economic hustle of caring for 2 wives, there's also the psychological hustle. Do you really want to be dealing with all those ladies? Like, for all of the alleged benefits of having 2 wives, I think the stress will be quite significant.
And well, if you lay your bed, then you must lie on it, right? Because if you're gonna decide to have 2 different women with 2 different temperaments, you cannot handle. And of course, there is the diseases we have today. You're with wife number 1, you don't know what wife number 2 is doing, so you might end up.
I would think that's even look, if the argument is about STDs, I would think polygamy is even a safer option.
Is it now?
Yes, because if a monogamous man who does not take on an official 2nd or 3rd wife, but maybe say has a string of girlfriends that he meets in clubs or at the university hostels, aren't you even at more risk as the wife?
But if you are 4 chances are that one of you is not being faithful.
So you have to monitor each other.
How do you do that?
Spy on each other to make sure none of you are cheating on your same husband.
Because the older men we're talking about, he would have a wife in Muyenga, and then he has another one in Ntinda, then he has another one maybe in Makindye. They are far apart.
And funny enough, like I was watching a documentary? Yeah, about life in rural Afghanistan. So we were shown in the film this polygamous Islamic family, but all of the wives lived within the same homestead.
Yes.
Essentially. And we were living as though they are sisters, you could say. But I think modernity has created an interesting scenario where the wives can now live far apart from each other.
Do you know why that happens? It's because at first when these men take on a second wife, they don't tell you. Back in the day, a guy will tell you, by the way, I'm bringing you a helper. I'm getting you a sister, quote unquote. But today, a guy will first fool around with a girl for a year or 2 or 5.
That's
and
true.
Then years later, you learn, oh my goodness, he has kids. He has
That's
a
true.
whole other family.
Even when you read the Bible, it's like second wives were considered to be servants of the first. As in, she would be brought to serve the wife. Like, literally, like to...
Were they wives though? For instance, the story of Sarah and Hagar. She was her servant. She was Sarah's servant. But Sarah failed to have a child. And of course, Hagar was younger. And she offered that her servant sleeps with her husband to get a son. So she was not a wife, really. She was just a helper. And when Sarah got married, or rather got a child, Hagar was sent packing. And I think that is what
is that what happened?
Yeah, she was sent packing with her son.
Wow, she's so mean. That one's going to hell.